Imagine a dusty Texas road in the early 1930s, where the Great Depression wreaks havoc on lives and livelihoods. Amidst this turmoil, a young woman named Bonnie Parker meets a charismatic yet troubled man named Clyde Barrow. Together, they embark on a crime spree that captivates the nation and cements their place in American folklore. During this episode, we will journey through their lives, exploring their backgrounds, criminal exploits, dramatic downfall, and lasting legacy. Bonnie Elizabeth Parker was born on October 1st, 1910, in the small town of Rowena, Texas. Her father, Charles Parker, was a bricklayer, but tragedy struck early when he passed away in 1914, leaving Bonnie's mother, Emma, to raise 3 young children alone. The family moved to the bustling city of Dallas to seek better opportunities. Despite their financial hardships, Bonnie excelled in school, where she was known for her sharp intellect and creative talents. She had a flair for poetry and dreamt of becoming a famous writer or actress. At the age of 16, Bonnie made a fateful decision to marry Roy Thornton. The marriage quickly proved tumultuous, marked by Roy's frequent brushes with the law. By 1929, Roy was sentenced to prison for robbery, and the couple drifted apart, though they never divorced. Despite the personal turmoil, Bonnie remained a romantic at heart, longing for adventure and a life beyond the ordinary. Clyde Chestnut Barrow was born on March 24, 1909 in Ellis County, Texas. He was the 5th of 8 children in a poor farming family. The Barrows struggled to survive, and the promise of better opportunities drew them to the Dallas slums. Like Bonnie, Clyde was ambitious and restless. He was also charming and quick-witted, traits that would serve him well in his future endeavors. Clyde's introduction to crime came early. As a teenager, he began stealing cars and robbing small stores, earning a reputation among local law enforcement. In 1929, he was arrested for a series of burglaries and sentenced to prison, where he experienced brutal conditions that hardened his resolve against authority. Clyde's prison stint also introduced him to more seasoned criminals, further entrenching him in a life of crime. The paths of Bonnie and Clyde crossed in January 1930 at a friend's house in Dallas. Bonnie was immediately drawn to Clyde's charisma and rebellious spirit, while Clyde found Bonnie's loyalty and passion irresistible. Their bond was instant and intense, setting the stage for a partnership that would soon become legendary. Shortly after meeting Bonnie, Clyde was arrested and sentenced to a prison term at Eastham Prison Farm in Texas. The harsh conditions and abuses he suffered there left a deep scar. Determined to escape, Clyde managed to convince another inmate to help him cut off 2 of his toes to avoid hard labor. His plan worked, and he was released on parole in early 1932, but he walked with a limp for the rest of his life. Once out of prison, Clyde vowed never to return and set his sights on a life of crime to exact revenge on the prison system. Bonnie joined him, eager to support her lover and share in his daring lifestyle. Together, they began robbing small stores and gas stations, initially focusing on low-risk targets. As their criminal activities escalated, Bonnie and Clyde were joined by various accomplices, forming what would become known as the Barrow Gang. Key members included Clyde's older brother Buck Barrow and his wife Blanche, as well as W.D. Jones, a young and impressionable friend of Clyde. The gang's modus operandi involved quick, violent robberies, often leaving a trail of chaos and bloodshed. They acquired a formidable arsenal of weapons, including Browning automatic rifles, which gave them a significant advantage over local police forces. The Barrow Gang's notoriety grew as their crimes became more audacious and their escapes more daring. As the Barrow Gang's crime spree continued, their exploits began to capture national attention. Newspapers across the country sensationalized their stories, portraying Bonnie and Clyde as modern-day Robin Hoods or romantic anti-heroes. The public was fascinated by the young, attractive couple defying the authorities and living on the edge. The discovery of a roll of film in a Joplin, Missouri, hideout in 1933 provided the public with iconic images of the couple. One photograph in particular showed Bonnie with a cigar in her mouth and a pistol in her hand, a stark contrast to the traditional image of a demure woman of the era. These photos humanized and romanticized them, fueling their legend. Bonnie's own writings added another layer to their mythos. Her poems, such as The Story of Suicide Sal and The Trail's End, offered a glimpse into her perspective on their lives of crime. The Trail's End, written shortly before their deaths, is particularly poignant. Someday they'll go down together, and they'll bury them side by side. To few it'll be grief, to the law a relief, but it's death for Bonnie and Clyde. These poems painted a romantic and tragic picture of their lives, resonating with a public that was both horrified and fascinated by their story. During the Great Depression, many Americans were disillusioned with the government and traditional authority figures. Bonnie and Clyde's daring heists and ability to evade capture turned them into symbols of rebellion against a system that seemed to have failed the common man. While they never actually gave to the poor, as true Robin Hoods might, their defiance of authority struck a chord with a population struggling to survive. By 1934, the law was closing in on Bonnie and Clyde. Their repeated clashes with law enforcement resulted in numerous injuries and close calls. The gang's movements became more erratic, and their options for hiding places dwindled. They were constantly on the run, moving from state to state to avoid capture. The violent shootouts and murders committed by the gang intensified the efforts to bring them to justice. Texas Ranger Frank Hamer, a legendary lawman known for his relentless pursuit of criminals, was hired to track them down. Hamer and his team meticulously studied the gang's patterns and movements, planning an elaborate trap to end their reign of terror. On May 23, 1934, Hamer and his posse set an ambush on a rural road in Bienville Parish, Louisiana. They had received a tip-off from Henry Methvin's father, whose son was an associate of the Barrow gang. The posse lay in wait, hidden in the brush along the road. As Bonnie and Clyde drove down the road in their stolen Ford V8, they were unaware of the trap that awaited them. The posse opened fire, unleashing a hail of bullets that riddled the car and its occupants. Bonnie and Clyde were killed instantly, their bodies grotesquely contorted by the force of the gunfire. The violent end of their lives was as dramatic as their criminal career. The news of Bonnie and Clyde's death spread rapidly, and their bodies were put on public display, drawing thousands of onlookers. The public reaction was mixed. Some mourned their loss, while others were relieved that their reign of terror had ended. Their funerals were attended by throngs of people, further cementing their status as infamous figures in American history. Conclusion: Bonnie and Clyde's story is a complex tapestry of love and crime, myth and reality. They were young lovers who turned to a life of crime, captivated the nation with their daring escapades, and met a violent end. Their legacy lives on, woven into the fabric of American folklore and popular culture. They remind us of the powerful allure of the outlaw and the complex nature of human morality. Their story remains a poignant reminder of the tumultuous era in which they lived and the enduring power of myth in shaping our understanding of history. I hope you enjoyed this journey through the lives of Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barrow. Your attention is greatly appreciated. Do you feel sympathy for the dynamic duo, or are you glad that their reign of terror has met its end? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more killer cliff notes, and I'll see you in the next one.